We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this college football rebel outpost, the home for college football sickos, with a donation, just hit the $ where you make a comment and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls later in the show. And we are going to take your phone calls early today. Early. I want to give everybody an opportunity. Everybody an opportunity to tell me how wrong I am. Give me a call. The lines are going to be wide open. You can tell me, Greg, you are a person from the past. Your time has come and gone. You do not understand anything. The fat guy from Minnesota does not understand anything that is going on in college football. Greg Pflugar doesn't understand the Big Ten. He doesn't have a clue. Maybe back in the day, he understood. Not now. No, Greg Pflugar, he's He's had one too many desserts. He's had too many hot hamburgers without the cheese. Greg Pflugar has had way too many of these. He doesn't understand. I am here. I'm gonna make it real clear. Because I have gotten so many DMs, so many questions. Greg, are you clear about this? Greg, are you really saying this? Greg, are you? And I haven't. You know what? And I haven't really answered the DMs the last few days, and I apologize. So if you're watching this program, I know you're one of many. And I just don't want to go over it again to this. So I'm going to make it real clear. Big 10 targets. Real clear. This is the most clear I could possibly make it. And you don't have to agree with me. You don't even have to watch the show. This show is free. And everybody who disagrees with me in the chat room and with your phone calls, now in one of my DMs this morning, I was called a cult leader. A cult leader. I guess the PATC family members are part of the cult. Come on. Again, this is the this is the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the entire country. It is. It would have been when I was talking about USC on March 31st all the way up to June 28th of 2022. It was during the Washington-Oregon thing. It was during, I was saying, the Big 12 poaching the Pac-12. We had Colorado at the tip at the head of the center of the stage, and we talked about the hot bubble of action, and it didn't matter. It did not matter. It did not matter. It did not matter how fortunate we were. We were talking to people, the correct people, whatever we did, right? Whatever we did. Maybe we're just good guessers. I've been accused of that lately. Whatever we did, we nailed the stories. And we were still the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country. Because, we brought a lot of bad news. We brought some good news. But we brought accurate peeks around the corner. We're doing the best we can to give you the most accurate peek around the corner during this story. No matter how much we are disliked here at PATC. I am very fortunate that you all give us enough resources, enough donation to help us keep the lights on. It gets there. It gets there. The little general looks at the numbers and says, continue on, Greg Pflugar. So we continue on. I'm very fortunate because as you notice how I do this show, it definitely ain't for the clicks. This ain't no clickbaiting going on here. I do not have the pom-poms going on here. I mean, my goodness. So, we are going to make it real clear today who we believe are the Big Ten targets for further Big Ten expansion. And guess what? I am perfectly okay, in fact, excited when you all disagree with me in the chat room and your phone calls. And guess what? PATC could end up being 100% wrong. But I don't do this to be wrong. I don't. I hope our track record speaks for itself. No, we don't have just one person. There is still a lot of misunderstanding what this show does and how much work we do off camera. But that's okay. I respect the hell out of people. I respect the hell out of people that get in front of the camera and let you know what they're thinking, what they think is going to happen next. There's a lot of stuff out there. And it runs 180 degrees against what we're saying, what we believe. And that is great. That is cool. That is fine. I respect the hell out of those people. They've got sources. A lot of them are probably news sources. That's, again. But because of all that, a lot of people, they watch these YouTube channels. They're watching these YouTube channels. And I don't blame them. They think I said something which I did not say, or they think somebody else said something and they say, no, Greg said that. And I'm going to make it perfectly clear. What we said on April 8th, we're going to say it again on April 16th. But a lot of what we said on April 8th was SEC orientated, because that is going to be the biggest domino. That is going to be the first domino that falls. But today I'm going to make it perfectly clear what we believe the Big Ten targets are. And let me give you a hint and a wink and a nod before we get to it in the back half of this monologue. And the monologue is going to be very short. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. And I don't even blame people for not understanding what the Big Ten is. I don't. I really don't. I'm just saying the Big Ten has not changed. It has not changed a lick. What it was 10 years ago is still true today on what they prioritize. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. Let's do a roll call. We're going to get into the breaking news on Nico Iamaleava on a jet plane. And it sounds like he's going back home to California. We're going to get to that story first. Let's do the roll call. Caleb Ramirez, Mr. Buckeye J. Chapman, A2, Movie Time Blues. If anything, UCLA is going to get some... Well, I just lost a bunch of people. I apologize. AMAC is in the house. Skaven, yes. Biggers, Bo, Preston from Greensboro. I wonder if Nico took a pay cut. I'm guessing he probably did. MGC Sooners in the house. Bruce Harris is in the house. Skaven, yes, is a genius. He called it on Nico. We had UCLA as one of the two chalks. Steel Austin is in the house. Amazing Blue. Jan Hoke, all good, 720. I got the keys. Keith Moore. Grateful Trojan. Had to go little brother after Southern Cal told Nico to kick rocks. Grateful Trojan. He had to throw that elbow. He had to throw it early. Grateful Trojan had to throw the elbow early in the show on his rival or little brother, the Bruins. BM is in the house. A's on the kid. A's on the kid. Ron is in the house. Brickbat is in the house. Cranky Tiger is in the house. Major Letdown is in the house. Preston from Greensboro. David Kreitzer. I did watch the Big Mountain show. The last episode they put out, they did a good job. They seem like they're two really good guys, really clear. They are they do really. I mean, they're really good guys. I mean, you can tell they're good guys. They do a great job, and I think people can associate with them. Great attitudes, great personalities. We happen to disagree on this. But again, I respect the hell out of them because, they are two people in the arena putting out what they believe is true, and they might end up being true. They might end up being correct. Now, I got a lot of DMs talking about what Big Mountain said, and I hadn't watched the show yet, and it's hard. It's like unfortunately, I'm just too damn busy with life, with so many things. So I watched the Big Mountain show today, early this morning. I got, the gist of what I watched it. So we'll go into a little bit of that, but I'm not going to take shots at the two men. They do a really good job. Really good job. A lot better, clearer talkers than I am. That is for sure. Mick Stevens, TCU. Just heard breaking news from Mick Stevens. Breaking news. Josh Hoover, he ain't going to Tennessee. Josh Hoover is not going to Tennessee. Breaking news on 3. Josh Hoover staying with the Horned Frogs. Patrick Kafal is in the house. Mayor McCheese. Mick Stevens, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. Morris Simmons is in the house. Lee, you're not late. Lee is not late, is in the house. Nathan Campbell. Hi, Nathan. The Big Gun Shop. The big Chef Mall is in the house. College Football Express is in the house. That is Rock and Rant, and the people at college football, people are choosing their journey. If they like what you say from sources, you're right. If they like what Big Mountain says, it conflicts with your sources, then they are right, and you get the... Well, I get anger no matter what. I got people coming after me left and right. I get it. I mean, you're right. Again, I got no problem. If you believe in your sources, you know who they are, you believe in where they're getting their information, and maybe they've given you good information in the past, you believe them, you put it out there. And so I got no problems with those two gentlemen. I don't have any problems with those two gentlemen. It's part of the reason, not the entire reason. I can guarantee you that. I guess there's a message board out there. I'm not going to name the name. If I have to, I will later on. But they've gotten what I said on April 8th all screwed up. It's amazing. You put out a YouTube channel and people say, Craig, it takes you forever to get to your point. Well, I'm trying to be as clear as possible because even when I'm clear, people screw it all up. But it's on tape. It's on tape. So I'm gonna put this out. It's gonna be real clear what we believe the Big Ten targets are. And we're not doing this lightly. Once again, this is been at this for a long time. And we'll get to it. Call Me David is in the house. 21 Bucket 21 is in the house. Go Black 45. What's up, PATC cult? God. Yeah, you guys, if you disagree with me, if you disagree with anything I say, especially my picks against the spread, you're gone. You are absolutely out of here. You are gone. Gone. If you disagree with anything I say. This is a cult, and I am your leader. Go Black 45 is the first one that has caught on. Major Letdown is in the house. John Evans is here. Michelle Weintraub. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on in. I appreciate it, Ron. The MAC Conference champions, the champions of the world. Stephen Vitt, Ohio Bobcats is in the house. Walgreen Morales. David DeJesus. Karan Shakar. All hail to our cult leader, Greg. You guys are finally catching on. Finally catch the big Lubbock. Bobby Hansen. UNC, TCU, and Ireland in 26. AAR, we called it. Nico to UCLA. Deadeye. Yo, Greg. Yo, Deadeye. Terry Kane is in the house. Jose is in the house. Daniel Gorby is here. Chad Bracey is in the house. Opie. Well, as long as you don't serve the Kool-Aid, I'm okay. If I do serve you, Opie, if I do serve you Kool-Aid, the color is going to look a lot like garnet and maroon. Garnet, a little bit of garnet, a little bit of maroon. Whatever the mixture is of garnet and maroon, that is going to be the color of the Kool-Aid. Seminole and Golden Gopher propaganda. If I ever give you Kool-Aid, that is what it's going to look like. Kenneth Stromness, BYU Cougar, the architect, is in the house. Foodie Memphis is here. You should make some cult merch with a UFO added on the mug. That might be a $1 million idea. Oh, I forgot. I can't do it now. You remember last year I told you guys the greatest joke of all time? The greatest joke of all time, it was where the frog goes up to the library. I don't know if any of you remember that. I got the second greatest joke of all time. I'll talk about it later after we get to the big stories. But we've got the second greatest joke of all time, and we're going to tell it here. Unfortunately, I'm the worst joke teller in the history of joke telling. Helmer Hennessy, Mr. Michigan. Does SEC still pursue Florida State Clemson if UNC UVA stay in the ACC? Helmer Hennessy has got the questions that I would love to avoid. Helmer Hennessy has the greatest questions, super chats. The one, if I was a good politician, I would not try to answer the question. I would want to answer the question that I would want asked to me. So I'm going to do that as a politician. Mr. Helmer Hennessy, UNC and UVA are not going to stay in the ACC. That is my answer. That's how I'm going to answer. Thank you for the great super chat, Mr. Hennessy. Great question. I do not know. But I do not think UNC and UVA are going to stay in the ACC. My strongly held opinion that North Carolina is not going to stay in the ACC. Mr. Monkey Says is in the house. D5 Terps is in the house. Is Minnesota's Wisconsin's daddy? Now that is the easiest question I've ever had. Absolutely yes. Mr. Hennison, thank you for giving me a question that I could finally answer. Thank you, Mr. Hennison. Minnesota has the axe. Let's get to the big stories. Let's get to the big story here. Nico Colin Cowherd was the first one that I saw that broke this. I'm told moments ago, Nico is going to UCLA. The family still claims it's not about the money. It's about the Volunteers football offense. I was not told what the Bruins are paying. I'm gonna get back to that in a little bit here. Gonna get back to that. Now, Andy Staples says, let's get this straight. They knew, Nico and his people knew in December that Heupel was still going to be the Tennessee's coach. So the offense wasn't changing. So they waited until April. And if this winds up being true, put him with an OC at UCLA whose next play call will be his first because it's about the offense. And then Andy Staples says, and by the way, I'm excited to see Tino, the offensive coordinator in he was the quarterback guy at Indiana. He did a great job with Cignetti's quarterback, but they're insulting everyone's intelligence, saying it's about the offense. And now we've got more breaking news that we got Bruce Feldman. They're all over the place. Nico is going to UCLA. We had UCLA as one of the two chalks. So the chalk came in on this one. The favorite came in on this one. UCLA. Don't know what they're paying them. I don't have the reports. But I kind of understand. I mean, I kind of get this, ladies and gentlemen. Nico, the family, they're having problems with the offense of Tennessee. I talked about it last year. I talked about it all season last year. Every time we had a Tennessee game and we were picking against the spread, either way, I kept talking about it. I said, Nico is running for his life. The great running back, Sampson, he's making all those yards on his own. The O-line was... And I don't see people talking about this. The O-line at Tennessee was terrible last year. Terrible. They couldn't block for Nico and they couldn't block for Sampson. Sampson was a superstar and overcame it. Nico wasn't that superstar, and he may never be that superstar. It was not a quarterback-led team. It was a defensive-led team. It was a Sampson-led team. And I maybe Nico and his family looked at that old line coming into this year and said, you guys don't run a pro offense. One of the reasons why you don't run a pro offense is because you can't block. You can't pro block. You can't pass pro block. You cannot keep a clean pocket. Nico ran for his life. Before that playoff game, we had Peek Around the Corner and said, the Buckeyes defensive line is going to slaughter that offensive line, and they're going to wreak havoc in the backfield, and Nico is going to be taken out of the game. And it was absolutely what happened. So I get that part. Maybe that is true. But I also agree with Andy Staples. If that is your thought process, get this thing going before April. That would only help you out to get more options. But anyways, Nico is going back home to UCLA. Let me know in the comments. Let me know with your phone calls. UCLA now, they got Aguilar, quarterback, App State. Is he going to go in the portal? He probably is going to end up in the portal. Pretty good quarterback coming out of G5, transferred UCLA, we shall see. We shall see. Has been. Greg threatens excommunication. Better than forcing Kool-Aid. Absolutely. He wanted to be like Beck and get more money. Sergeant Pickles, Big Ten quarterback play is going to be wild next year. Gold Dogs. Before we get to the main, we're going to have a very short monologue today. We're going to get to your phone calls, and we're going to let you have all the time you need to get it all out. To say, Greg, you're absolutely wrong. But I do have some bad news on the Minnesota front. I've been talking, Drake Lindsey, the redshirt freshman quarterback, has been looking real good. Big, strong arm. The last practice, April 15th, open to the public. The young man took a step back. A little shaky. Everything's going to be okay. Gopher fans, everything's going to be okay. He's a young guy, redshirt freshman. He's been brilliant in camp, but he took a step, a little wobbly passes. There was a pick six, although the redshirt freshman didn't come back to the ball good enough. So anyways, but no panic, no panic. This is the home for your Golden Gopher propaganda, no panic. But we had a little bit of a shaky day yesterday at the quarterback position at Minnesota, and Sergeant Pickles' comment reminded me of that. Okay, let's just get to it. I'm going to make this real clear. Big Ten targets. Big Ten targets, and I have said this before, and I'm going to repeat this in a very clear manner. So if you disagree with me, of course, that's great. That's cool. It's completely understandable. I just don't want people to say, Greg, you didn't say that or whatever. Because I've had a lot of questions the last 3 or 4 days, especially in the last 24 hours. Okay. The number one target for the Big Ten is North Carolina. North Carolina, North Carolina, North Carolina. That's the target. Now, of course, it's Notre Dame. But I'm going to put Notre Dame aside for a moment. Just for a moment. It's North Carolina. It has been North Carolina. It was North Carolina before the Big Ten went west. It was North Carolina when the Big Ten took Rutgers and Maryland. North Carolina was the Big Ten's number one target. They couldn't get North Carolina. They might not get North Carolina this time. In fact, we at Peek Around the Corner don't think they will. That might change. And if we think it changes, we're going to let you know. But North Carolina is the number one target for the Big Ten. It has been for a long time. Jim Delaney has been working on North Carolina forever. Forever. That's just the reality. Now again, I am giving you what we believe at Peek Around the Corner. Please don't be offended if we have very strong held views here. I think sometimes people get that mixed up. They think Greg he's so strong in his views, he doesn't like my views. I love your views. When have I ever discussed? Bring him on. Bring him here. Put him in the comment section. Give me a phone call. Let me know how wrong I got it. But we did not come to these views lightly. We did not just fall up the turnip truck. We have relations going back over a decade. I'm telling you guys what we strongly believe. Take it, leave it. I'm not a cult leader. I enjoy a wide range of opinions. Of course, this is a college football YouTube channel. We're all going to disagree. Thank God I did not hold back on the USC story because I was afraid that people were going to disagree with me. Thank God I did not hold back on that. Thank God I did not hold back on the Washington, Oregon. Sergeant Pickles was here. Thank God I did not hold back on that because people were raking me over the coals. Thank God I did not hold back on the fact that the Big 12 was most likely going to poach the Pac-12 and Colorado was standing at the center of the stage and we knew there was a meeting on May 7th. And all the other stories that we've broken or helped, thank God I did not keep my mouth shut. So we're going to give you our strongly held beliefs, opinions. But I love your opinions as well, okay? North Carolina is the number one target. And whatever comes with North Carolina, which would probably Virginia, the Big Ten ain't going to give up on North Carolina. Big Ten ain't giving up on North Carolina. They're the underdogs. We believe they are the underdogs. We believe they think they are the underdogs. We believe everybody thinks they are the underdogs. But they're not going to give up on North Carolina. They're not going to give up on North Carolina until North Carolina makes a decision. You never know what's right around the corner here at Peek Around the Corner. Just the other day, just yesterday, we covered a major story. Maybe possibly if that bill gets passed, that is a part of the budget bill that gives $31.5 million in 2027 to North Carolina, $31.5 million to North Carolina State starting 2027. Maybe that changes. Maybe that changes all the calculations for North Carolina. Probably not, but it could. Big Ten ain't giving up on North Carolina. Big Ten will be talking to North Carolina. They probably already have. That's their number one target. Now, whatever happens in North Carolina makes the next move the next move. If North Carolina goes to the SEC, which we believe is going to happen, the next target is Notre Dame. If the reality hits, look, if we all wake up tomorrow, which is not going to happen tomorrow, it's not imminent. But the day that we wake up in North Carolina, along with Virginia, or North Carolina, along with Virginia and Florida State and Clemson, whatever the combination is, whatever the depth of the SEC scoop into ACC country, whatever that is, the impact of North Carolina, the capitular head of the ACC, the impact of North Carolina leaving the ACC, you better believe it that the Big Ten and Notre Dame are going to sit down once again. Of course, the Big Ten ain't going to do nothing. They're not going to target anybody else until they've talked to Notre Dame. They're not skipping ahead of North Carolina and Notre Dame. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. In our strongly held opinion, it's not a shot against any other university. The Big Ten has been at this for a long time. They've wanted North Carolina for a long time. They've wanted Notre Dame for a long time. So they're going to call Notre Dame next. That's the second target. Notre Dame is like, Notre Dame called today and said they want in. Of course, Notre Dame's in. The third target is Miami, and that's where it gets a lot of controversy among people that watch this show, and that's fine. But it's Miami's the third target. We are more convinced than ever. Again, feel free to disagree. But if the Big Ten doesn't get North Carolina, and they go to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame says, for now, we're still not interested. Nothing happens unless Miami is in the picture for the Big Ten. Those are the top three targets. The other ACC schools, huge brands, that brings a lot of value to the Fox and ESPN, they might come along with those three targets in some scenario. But the other schools are not the main targets. They're just not. Now, I watched the Big Mountain Show, Big Mountain Show, and I heard what they said, and of course I completely respect those guys and everybody else that puts themselves out in front, the real names, out in front of the camera and letting you know what they think is going to happen. I respect the hell out of. There was a lot of people wrong on the USC story, on the Oregon story, on on the Colorado. There's a lot of people wrong. Hardly any of them took the L. But I'll take the L if I'm wrong. I think those guys are good guys. I think they'll take the L if they become wrong. But whatever. I respect the hell out of it. I'm not taking a shot at them. I'm just telling you what we have heard, and this has been going on for months, is pretty much the complete opposite of what they have heard and what other people have heard, what War Chant has heard. I would love to come on here and say, yes, Florida State is the main target, the number one target of the Big Ten, because they are such a big brand. They're going to bring in a lot of money. This is all about money. This is all about viewership. They can have the Big Ten Network subscribers being sold in the state of Florida. Boy, would that be easy? Well, it ain't easy. That's not the story. It ain't. It just isn't. According to what everything we have been told for a very long time. It doesn't mean that the Big Ten is correct in what they're doing or incorrect or whatever, but the Big Ten remains the Big Ten. If you're going to come into the Big Ten, you better have the goods or you better have the right blend, or you're not going to get in. It's just the way it is. Clemson and Florida State, we had live shows about this last year. The Florida State Clemson blend coming into the Big Ten, in our strongly held opinion, would not get a vote. They wouldn't even vote on it. It ain't happening. And again, two incredible football brands, Florida State and Miami, that probably most likely could work if there's nothing else happening in front of it. Clemson and Miami could work. Florida State, North Carolina, obviously. Clemson, North Carolina, obviously. Florida State, Notre Dame, obviously. Clemson, Notre Dame, obviously. But if Florida State, Clemson is not going to be the pairing that comes into the Big Ten. You have got to satisfy the Big Ten presidents. That does not satisfy them. It ain't happening. The business that the Big Ten presidents are in are substantially bigger than the football business. You're not going to get Michigan's vote. You're not going to get the Ohio State Buckeye vote. You're not going to get Wisconsin's vote. You're not going to get these votes. Fox might be able to say you might make $5-6 million more a year, but you're still not going to get the votes. You got to get the votes. You got to have the correct blend. And that is what a North Carolina does. That's what a Notre Dame does. That is what a Miami does. It gets you the votes for Georgia Tech, for Duke, for Clemson, for Florida State. It is those three main targets that gets you the votes into the Big Ten. So I don't know how much more clear I can be. Now, I'm not even trying to people are set in their ways, and that's completely understandable. I'm not trying, look, if you disagree with me today, that's great. You are still my friend. I don't give a rat's behind. I don't. But this show is College Football's Peek Around the Corner, and I got to give you what we have been told. And I'm not just a fat guy from Minnesota in front of a camera, in front of a microphone. We have got a long track record on this. I talk to a lot of people. The Big Ten remains the Big Ten. That's the message that I want to tell you all today. It has not become a semi-pro college football league. It hasn't. And it will not. The reason why Miami is the third target is because it does what it, in its institution of what the other Big Ten presidents want. That's why they were voted AAU. The market satisfies what the Miami has planned in the future, satisfies. That is why they're the third target. North Carolina has been the top target forever. That hasn't changed. And the Big Ten ain't going to give up until the SEC has the victory and grabs North Carolina, or the Big Ten grabs North Carolina. And then it's Notre Dame. Nobody is jumping in front of North Carolina and Notre Dame as the Big Ten targets. Miami's not jumping in front of North Carolina. I don't care if Miami wins the national championship this year. The communications between what has been done over the last 25 bloody years between North Carolina and Minnesota. North Carolina and the Big Ten Conference. The Big Ten, now that North Carolina can get freed of the ACC gore, the Big Ten's going to go after them. They're going to keep going after them until they win or until they lose. Either way, and then the next domino happens, and that is Notre Dame. And we'll see the reaction of Notre Dame. But I got a feeling that Notre Dame is going to finally flip the switch. Because, look, back in 2010, Notre Dame and Big Ten had serious conversations. They have had serious conversations forever. And the Notre Dame has said no every single time, but it's been on the edge. It hasn't been a slam dunk. It never has been a slam dunk. And if Notre Dame loses the top ACC schools for scheduling, they lose that value in their scheduling. They lose those home games in their scheduling. They can't fulfill their obligations to the NBC partner. Of course, they're going to talk to the Big Ten, and it's going to be a serious conversation again. No, it's not all about money for Notre Dame. It's about travel as well, and the Big Ten fulfills that for Notre Dame in spades. It fulfills the ability of Notre Dame with their having a home for their Olympic teams. And I know, I've heard this before. Greg, if it was going to happen, it would have already happened. Boy, if that is the logic that you use when it comes to realignment, you are in the wrong game. If you use that logic, if that is your lead-in, if it was ever going to happen, it would have already happened, Greg. Boy, when I hear that, my head about to explode. If that is your lead, if that is what you're leading with, if that is the chin that you are leading with, you're going to get knocked out. The Big Ten has had long-held conversations with programs about potential conference affiliation. Sometimes they have to take a long break from first-party talks. For example, North Carolina. The Big Ten, their representatives have not been able to talk to North Carolina lawyers for a very long time because of the North Carolina, the ACC grant of rights. You better believe they're talking now. You better believe the SEC and North Carolina are talking now. You better believe that Florida State is talking with the Big Ten and the SEC now. Same with Clemson, same with Miami, same with Georgia Tech, same with Duke. And Notre Dame is having those conversations with the Big Ten. So I just wanted to make it perfectly clear what the Big Ten targets are. They have not changed, and they're not going to change. It's North Carolina with a bullet. And then that check with Notre Dame, dependent, and check to see where North Carolina goes, then it's Notre Dame, and then it's Miami. Now, again, a lot of you disagree. Pretty much basically, I would say a good 80, 90% of you disagree. That is fine. I want to say this. I have checked. Back on June 15th of last year, we had a live show in which we did an update on the Holy Smokes Theater and when Petiti and Sankey left the room. And I talked about how Florida State and Clemson, they're not the number one targets for the SEC and the Big Ten. And I explained it. I did a bunch of live shows on it. I got crucified everywhere. And then 6 weeks later, a bunch of columns came out. Brett McMurphy's column came out and said what we said. And then he got raked over the coals. And other people have said this as well. Heather Dinich, Pete Thamel, Paul Feinbaum. I don't agree with what Paul Feinbaum says about Florida State, but because they do have great value, they're just not the number one targets. But so I am trying to gauge. What I've been doing is what I knew to be believed to be true on June 15th of 2024. Has anything changed from June 15th, 2024 until now, April 16th, 2025? I have asked the question. I've asked the question to the money purchase, to the chatter behind the curtains, to everybody I know. By the way, they all had the same consensus on what was happening on June 15th, which turned out to be accurate. The answer I have gotten back is nothing has changed. Nothing. The Big Ten still views the landscape the same way they did on June 15th, but of course, things are going to be happening a lot quicker. We're not going to go into the early 2030s, mid 2030s before something happens. That ain't going to happen. Something is going to happen way before then, probably in 26. But nothing in regards to the Big Ten targets have changed. And I think, and I believe, we are going to get confirmation of that in the next couple of months, possibly next month with the ACC meetings. But again, when those reports come out, a lot of people aren't going to agree with it. They're going to think people are playing a game, whatever that is. But a lot of people aren't going to, they think those reports are real. But again, those are the Big Ten targets. And we believe the SEC targets are North Carolina and Virginia. And we think at this point in time, they're going to need Florida State and Clemson to make it all work. Now, I understand other people saying the SEC in no way, no how are going to expand with 4 schools at one time. I will tell you this. If the Big Ten Legal Counsel would have given the okay to Kevin Warren, and if Kevin Warren was liked by Fox and the Big Ten presidents at the time, and he wasn't, if there was a Big Ten commissioner who had the stroke, and if the Big Ten Legal Counsel would have allowed it, the Big Ten would have grabbed they would have had a 4-team expansion on June 30th, 2022. It would not have been just USC, UCLA. It would have been Washington and Oregon. The money was there. if Kevin Warren wasn't there, and if the legal counsel would have given the okay, because they did not give the okay on Washington and Oregon until the Big 12 was about to poach the Pac-12 again after they took Colorado, that would have happened. So the Big 10 would have gone for in the Pac-12 country. We believe the SEC will go for an ACC country that overall is more valuable. So that is why, a lot of reasons why we think SEC is going big. Going big. Okay, now we're going to get to phone calls. I'm glad I was able to get through the monologue in under an hour. Let's get to it. Let me make sure I'm all caught up. Let me make sure I'm not all caught up. I'm not all caught up. Expedition Greg, thank you so much for the membership. Holy smokes, gifted membership. Mr. Buckeye, Expedition Greg, I'm sure Expedition Greg is all excited about Mr. Saiyan and what he did on that spring football game. Eddie Williams was gifted a membership. Eddie, when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Expedition Greg for his incredible generosity. Both of you are knighted cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger. Let's get to your phone. Well, let me get to a few comments, and then we'll get to your phone calls. Sergeant Pickles is absolutely correct. Boy, Sergeant Pickles and I went through this on a daily, every day. If it was going to happen, it would have already happened about Washington and Oregon. Absolutely. It makes my head hurt just thinking about all that. Justin Butler, I've always said that I think Miami and Florida State would go to the Big Ten because of the rivalry. And I think that blend will get through if Big Ten has the opportunity. I think that is what would work for Florida State if the Big Ten gets an opportunity. But again, Miami's not the first target of the Big Ten. Miami's not the second target of the Big Ten. So, we shall see. Timing is everything. Ron is absolutely correct. Even Swim Swam didn't have Florida State first in the article. That's true. That's true. Yeah, Swim Swam has Virginia, North Carolina, Florida State, and Clemson, and I think they're going to end up being correct. I don't know who their source was. What year did they say that? Was that 23 or 22? 24? I don't even... It seems like it was 10 years ago. Opie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ryan Willie, what did I miss? I was at the Brewer game. The Brewers beat the Tigers 5-1. Ryan, you didn't miss a whole hell of a lot. We went through Nico is going to UCLA, and I went through the targets of the Big Ten. July 7th, 2022. I think they're going to end up being right. UNC won't. They don't want to go. Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean, yes. Here's the thing about North Carolina. We talked about the different factions at North Carolina. We talked about the factions that want to stay in ACC country. We talked about the minority faction that wants to go to the Big Ten. We know a couple boosters that want to do it. We know Kevin Gusowich wanted to do it, but he got kicked out. That was one of the reasons he got kicked out. And then there's the SEC faction, right? Well, the thing is that SEC faction at UNC Chapel Hill only benefit from the ACC faction. In other words, part of the ACC faction wanting North Carolina to stay in the ACC is because they want to keep their school. They want to keep their school regional. They don't want their student athletes going all over hell. I mean, North Carolina voted against Stanford in California. So if So it's like you have 3 presidential candidates in an open convention, right? The UNC open convention for the presidency. You have the presidency. You have the president that is advocating a presidential candidate that is advocating SEC. You have a presidential candidate advocating ACC. You have a presidential candidate advocating Big Ten. Well, if nobody can get over 50% of the vote, the lowest one drops out, and where do those votes go to? The ACC voters are going to go to the SEC, if you want to look at it that way. Just another reason why the SEC has the advantage. We just happen to think that Big Ten ain't going to give up all the way until it happens. Okay. Greg, who are Fox and NBC first few choices? Great question, King Splain. I'm guessing it's if you're looking at those spreadsheets and everything, I'm guessing they are the big valuable football schools. Right? Florida State, Clemson, probably 1 and 2. Miami would probably be the 3rd, right? Notre Dame, obviously. Notre Dame is up there, 1, 2, whatever. But yeah, Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami. But it seems like the Big Ten doesn't want FSU, but Fox does. Morris Simmons, Mr. Seminole. The Big Ten is it isn't. Again, Fox and ESPN are not going to totally call the shots for the SEC expansion and the Big Ten expansion. They have to pay for it. They have to pay for it. So they do have a veto pen. In many ways, look, Fox said, we're not going to pay full freight for Washington and Oregon. Not now. They said half freight. Washington and Oregon decided, okay, we're going to do it anyways. They get to the P2. The media partner has to pay for it. But they're not even being able to get the opportunity to pay for it unless the presidents vote you in. Like, you Fox and ESPN and Fox are like, they just can't automatically, they're not going to like pull these teams in and say, okay, you're part of the presidents have to vote you in. So it's like, okay. So there's a lot of talk out there that the Big Ten ratings are suffering. They're not very good. And no, they're not suffering. The Big Ten ratings were damn good. NBC was disappointed, a little bit disappointed. But the Big Ten ratings are pretty big. And by the way, the Big Ten ratings don't have to be as big as the SEC ratings. They don't. They don't. The demographics of the markets of the Big Ten is more valuable than the markets of the SEC. So the Big Ten, Fox is making a lot of money on Big Ten content. A lot of money, a lot of money, a lot of money. So this whole like, everyone, like the Big Ten is suffering and they need, that's just isn't true. Of course they want bigger ratings. They're going to change things around. They're going to put they're probably going to put Ohio State at a few more night games for NBC. Spread those Fox noon games around. But again, it ain't like, okay, let me put it this way. The Big Ten media pack, the media negotiations for Big Ten media rights in 2030, 31 are going to be gigantic. The money is going to be ridiculous. It's absolutely going to be ridiculous. Whether they bring in North Carolina, Virginia, or Clemson, or Florida State, or Miami, Notre Dame, or if they bring in Opie, or if they bring in Morris Simmons, if they bring in Rock and Rant, it's going to be huge. The SEC is going to be huge. The SEC is probably going to be bigger. Historically, the SEC ratings and value has been bigger. It's why I keep saying the SEC is the most powerful conference, the most valuable conference in the country. The average SEC football game, the average one, the medium one, the average one is more valuable than the average Big Ten conference game. It's always been that way. It's not by a whole lot, but it's always been that way. But I'm also telling you, the Big Ten is still the Big Ten. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. They're not going to just change. They're not going to change. These presidents are so... I don't want to say anything negative. I don't want to say anything positive. They're not going to... Okay. I got it. Okay. You know, sometimes the guys come over and I cook them something. My smack friend. I cook something for the guy, for my friends, whatever. And I cook it up and blah, blah, blah. It don't matter. It don't matter if it's good or bad or whatever. They're going to eat it and I'm going to serve it to them. The Big Ten presidents, the commissioner is not going to serve them something that there's got to be something on that plate that satisfies the palate of the Big Ten presidents. I can't be any more clear than that. I mean, there's a reason why Kevin Warren went to bat for California and Stanford, for God's sakes, and Fox said no. You cannot get the presidential vote unless you serve something on that plate that satisfies their palate. Not the fat guy from Minnesota. I'm going to eat everything. Except for cheese on meat. Bring on TCU. Bring on Texas State. Bring on Oklahoma State. Bring on Iowa State. Bring on it. I don't care. But I'm telling you, the Big Ten is still the Big Ten. You've got to put something on that plate that satisfies those palates. And I'm not taking a shot at the universe. It's something it's got to satisfy these elitists, whatever you want to talk, however you want to put it. Because they're in a room, they're looking at each other. They're rubbing elbows with each other. They want to rub elbows with certain people. They want to rub elbows with North Carolina. They want to rub elbows with Notre Dame. They want to rub elbows. So you got to give them something. And that is why I say Florida State, the door is not shut on Florida State. It isn't. But they need the right blend. They need something along with them on that plate. And it ain't a Florida State Clemson. That ain't going to work. The commissioner is not even going to present that meal to the Big Ten presidents. When the commissioner presents the meal to the Big Ten presidents and they say yes, then that gets the valuation of Fox. And then they see if it can work. California and Stanford got the okay from the presidents, and Fox wasn't going to pay a dime for that. Washington and Oregon, some of that on that plate was a little bit difficult for the presidents to digest. But they said, Petiti's working on them. Look what we can do, blah, 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 blah. 2 more West Coast. Washington was a beautiful piece of it was ribeye steak. And Oregon was pea soup. But it passed and then went to Fox and they said, okay, we'll pay for half. North Carolina is that beautiful sushi. Notre Dame is filet mignon. Miami's, maybe a little bit of lobster, but it gets it done. Florida State's a very good piece, sliced, tasty lamb chop, but it can't go alone with Clemson. And what is Clemson? What is Clemson? Clemson is California is high level caviar. But Fox ain't going to pay for it. We're talking about what the Big Ten presidents perceive. So hopefully that explains it. That's why Florida State and Clemson, it ain't even going to get there. It ain't going to get that ain't going to happen. The Big Ten presidents are not going to allow it. And it doesn't matter if you say, well, you might make $6 million more or whatever. Okay, now we're going to get to your phone calls. Now you can let me know how wrong I got once again. Helmer Henderson, would UNC become overall research more profitable in the Big Ten rather than the SEC? How much research did Notre Dame really do? Maybe over time North Carolina would be. I haven't really, possibly. But then again, it has to do with internal politics. What might be the absolute correct move is something that UNC might not pull the trigger on, because there's a lot of pro SEC down there. It has moved. The whole sentiment has moved over the last 10 years. It has become more internal, more regional. North Carolina has gone through an identity situation. You might be correct, Helmer Henderson, but then again, you might not, and it only really depends on the perception of those leaders in North Carolina and the Board of Governors. UNC is going to have to play a bunch of games in the state of North Carolina. They're going to have to play North Carolina State. They're going to have to play those schools and the other public schools that have athletic department in Division I, Division II in the state of North Carolina. They're going to be playing a lot of games in North Carolina, and it sounds like they want to stay regional. But we'll see. We don't think the Big Ten is going to give up until they lose or win in North Carolina. Hopefully I have caught up. Let me thank you so much for the super chat, Helmer Henderson. Let's get to people's phone calls. And again, 100%, you have got the floor. I know a lot of you have got a lot of good reasons to believe that Pflugar is wrong. That's great. But Pflugar hasn't been clear. That's where I'm going to argue with you a little bit. I cannot be more clear. And for those who have put out different scenarios because their sources have told them, I applaud you. I applaud you. I do. Because it ain't easy, man. It's not easy. It's not easy. I applaud all of you.
Call from
Rick.
Rick is on the floor. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it. The floor is yours, my man.
Hey, you need to add a little chicken cordon bleu to your diet.
You know what? I was having a hard time thinking of anything. I was thinking hot dogs, but I didn't want to insult anybody. I need to plan out my monologue better. I kind of just freelance it, and I kind of got into place there that I didn't know what I was doing, like usual. So hopefully it was. Did I make everything more confusing, Rick? That's my.
No.
That's my
no,
theory.
I think
Okay.
it was a fine description of the Big Ten president's snobbery.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
I think that's a good way to put it.
I'll use the word so you don't have to. But no, the chicken cordon bleu, in theory you would object to it, but with a good cordon bleu sauce, I think you'd like it. I think you'd like it a lot. So
Florida State is chicken cordon bleu?
What's that?
Is Florida State chicken cordon bleu, or is that Clemson?
Oh,
with the right sauce.
Wow. Yeah, we can give it to FSU. We can give it to FSU. But I want you to try it next time you and the little general go out to dinner.
Got it. Yeah. Now, okay. So, there's cheese inside the chicken cordon bleu, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't. Okay, so I don't eat cheese with meat. My only two exceptions are turkey and Swiss and chicken Parmesan. Yeah, I cannot do that chicken cordon bleu thing. That would make me run to the bathroom, sir.
Well, I think you'd find it very similar to the chicken parm.
Well, if it is, I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to be 57 years old next Wednesday, 7 days from now. I do not know if I'm brave enough at this old age to try something like that. Maybe. But I'm not very brave man. So, but go ahead, Rick.
No problem. I'm trying to fill up my calendar. It's just got a lot of blanks on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's the date of the next meeting of House v. NCAA?
I do not know. I do not know.
I thought she wanted them back in a week.
Yeah, but I do not know the date. I think it's next week. In fact, someone reported that today, but I don't know the date of next. I don't know what day that is.
Okay. So
yeah.
I can't pencil that in. Yeah. When are those planes going to land?
Whenever. Well, remember, there is no people up in those towers because of the House NCAA settlement. That has got to get confirmed first. And then a bunch of planes land. And then I think we get into the serious steam and discussion about the next conference realignment. But we've got to get the people up in the towers. We've got to get then we got to land all those planes, and then the next step.
Why would they need the House settlement in order to get the planes down?
I think they need that for everything. Heather Dinich, I think she put out a post today saying that they're going to talk about it next week in Dallas about the college football playoffs, but don't expect anything. Don't expect any. They're going to. How did? Let me see if I can find it. Let me put it up on the screen here, because it's important in how she said it here. Hold on, everybody. Hold on, Rick. I apologize, sir. Let me.
No.
She said this. Heather Dinich, ESPN. The CFP Management Committee is expecting to discuss different future format options at its meeting next week. Sources said no decisions are expected but there is a desire to consider options beyond the 12-team status quo and a model with automatic qualifiers for 2026 and beyond. The commissioners are expecting the CFP to present different format options in ways to modernize the selection process. So they're going to be talking about 14, 16, automatic qualifiers. They're all going to be bringing up more in the open next week. It doesn't say the date, but there ain't going to be no decisions made. And I think everyone is looking at that House NCAA settlement before anybody goes. I think so many decisions are being held up. I think the Big 12 possible private capital deal is being held up. I think the Big 10 private capital deal is being held up. I think everything is being held up until that's completely done.
Wow, that yeah. So they're needing. They're not needing to settle. They're needing to begin talks.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think anybody is going to say, yes, this is what we're going to do until they know. So a lot of this, from the commissioner's perspective, from the athletic director's perspective, this NCAA House thing is about cost certainty for at least for the next year or two, until that implodes. But so they want to know the cost certainty, and now they can talk about, do we expand the playoffs? Do we, how do we do it? Every decision, I think, is going to be based upon after they know they can put it on their spreadsheet. This is what's going to cost us. Rev share, anticipated projections, labor costs. That's how I'm looking at it. I think this is the big hurdle, and then ESPN and SEC is going to make those final determinations on that 9th conference game. I think all these decisions are going to thrive after this settlement gets officially approved. That's how I'm looking at it. I could be wrong.
But this year's playoffs is going to be identical to last year's playoffs?
This year's playoffs? Yes. Well, it was written. Now, could they change it still? I suppose that's a possibility, Rick. But it was always anticipated that this year's playoffs would mimic last year's playoff, these 2 years, before it changed in 26. But is the door a little bit open that they could change it? I guess it is. Especially like the seeding part of it, how they seed it. But I guess the door is not completely shut on any possible changes.
Okay, so this year's playoff is probably going to be like last year's, but they still have an opportunity to reseed or restack or whatever. But they've decided nothing as far as change is concerned.
That's what I believe. Unless, do you have any information? Have you heard anything, any reports? I might be out of the loop on that. I haven't really, other than the seeding part, I don't think there's going to be any changes, but we'll see.
Well, I thought there was consternation. I know anything I've heard is rumor. I thought there was consternation on the buy. The buy being a negative.
Yeah. Yes, but again, I'm doubting that they're going to go to 14 for 25. Maybe they will. And if you have 14, you're going to have 2 teams with a bye, so that doesn't completely solve it either. Yeah, I don't know, Rick. I think there might be minor changes, but I don't think they're going to tear it all up for 25. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Well, I agree, because I think the group of 6 and they don't want it messed up.
Yeah.
Not unless it's to their advantage or they're given some type of a break. Why would they?
Yeah.
There's got to be something dealt in order to make the change.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So everything is on hold pending Judge Wilkins.
Yes. That's what I think.
And even if the 2 parties agree, the NCAA and the House people, she may not agree.
She may not. She may kick it out. I don't think she will, but she may. She has that power.
Or parts of it.
Yep.
She can kick out parts of it.
Yep.
But that was the part that the NCAA was objecting to it. Didn't they say they were going to withdraw it if she pulled the one part out?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna wait for the final. I'll wait for her next decision. There's a lot of volleying back and forth, and I haven't really kept up with that. And I'm not going to. I'm waiting for the final product. The final, it's done. This is what it means. It's not done. This is what it means. So I'm not spending a whole lot of time on. Yeah, I know there's the lawyers, the NCAA lawyers, or the people representing the conferences have filed another addendum to satisfy the judge or not satisfy the judge. But I'm just not keeping up with the volleying back and forth at this point.
Well, you mentioned the enforcement arm. I thought that's part of the agreement.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
I just thought when they came out with that info, did they come out with any other info?
I'm sorry, what was that?
When they came out,
yeah.
This is an agreement between NCAA and House people.
Yep.
They came out and announced. Who was it that announced the formation of the enforcement arm?
Well, that has been in reports for months. There was 10 commissioners, representatives of the 10 conferences that have been meeting for months for the creation of the enforcement arm, because that's part of the settlement. And then there was a report yesterday through a FOIA request that they've got the name, a reporter's got the actual name of the enforcement arm, but we don't know any other details.
Oh, it was released from a FOIA request.
Yeah, it wasn't like an announcement. It was a reporter doing great work.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Freedom of Information Act. Yeah.
I think it was a FOIA. I think so. Or the person got the information somewhere out of the state of Delaware. I might not be correct on the FOIA part, but it was an unintended information leak of some sort.
Well, yeah. So they really didn't announce anything.
Nope.
Some hound dog snuffed it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll wait for Judge Wilkins, and I appreciate you taking the call.
You got it. Appreciate it. Great call, Rick. We got a Helmer Hennison. I assume Greg doesn't eat lasagna. I eat lasagna. The fat guy from Minnesota did not become the fat guy from Minnesota without eating lasagna. But there is no meat in my lasagna. 3 cheese, 4 cheese. I'm not anti-cheese. I'm not anti-meat. I'm anti-meat and cheese having a relationship together before it goes down my elite palate into my big Minnesota.
Call from
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger, thanks. Can you hold on for just one moment, please? Edward.
Yes, sir.
Can you hold on for a moment?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I just want to get caught up. There's some comments here. Oh, and now I lost my place. God dang it. I lost it. Where was I? Juicy Lucy's were invented in Minnesota, but Juicy Lucy's are an abomination. Still anti-cheese on meat is Greg. Stephen Vitt is absolutely correct. He must be getting hungry. Dante's Inferno Purgatory. I'm always hungry. What else we got here? Test subject 83. Greg, thank you for trying to get people to understand how the Big Ten works. Hopefully, and again, I'm okay with everybody disagreeing with me. I just want to make sure everyone is clear what I'm saying. That's it. That's all. Spam without cheese. Bedlam drew great rivalries. Bedlam drew great ratings. Is no longer a rivalry. 100 plus years of a rivalry is dead. That is one of those things that is just crushing to old college football fans like myself, and especially MBM. I don't think MBM is old, but MBM is an Oklahoma State Cowboy fan. That kind of stuff is absolutely, that is the stuff that hurts. The Oregon State, even if they continue to play somewhat, the big, but yeah, even though Oklahoma beat Oklahoma State most of the time, it was still a rivalry. People looked for it. They circled the calendar. Families got together. Cowboys and Sooners. By the way, the Sooners just got Jaden Ott, the running back of California. I absolutely fell in love with him in 2023. He was dinged up in 24. You've got Ott and Matera in the background. Johnny Football, Johnny Matera. Art Bucko, the new offensive coordinator. There's going to be some excitement in Norman, Oklahoma. Again, I don't know if they're going to win more than 6 games, but the offense is going to have some juice to it. But MBM, you're absolutely correct. Go ahead, Edward the Auburn Tiger. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate your patience. The floor is yours.
Yeah, Greg, another great show, man. You do a great job in all that you do. And I love all the callers. The discussion has been fantastic. I was listening to the last caller, and he was talking about, asking the question, when, and I honestly believe that a lot of things are working at the same time. We know that the caveat is the house situation has to be settled.
Yeah.
But it does not mean they're not working on all the other components, like the ninth SEC game, the configuration of the playoffs. And so when it comes to the timing, what do we know? We know this. We know that this house settlement has to be done as soon as possible. A lot of urgency. You put that out. Number 2, we know that the college football playoffs has to be done as well. Yeah. 2026 is right around the corner, and they can't wait long. So I imagine there is discussion behind the scenes that's happening with that, because it has to be released. When you talk about, reserving stadiums and venues and in preparation of these cities just hosting these games. They need that time. Networks need the time, and they know that they need to know the financials. And the third thing that we know is this. There's going to be a look-in window in 2028, which tells me, and I really believe this, with everything you were saying, especially about North Carolina State getting that extra 24 to $31 million a year and everything, I honestly believe they're going to announce before August. They're going to try to enter in 2027. What do you feel about that, Greg?
Well, now to get to if North Carolina wanted to get to the SEC before 2000, well, if they want to get into the SEC for 2027, they could wait until August 15th of 2026. They don't have to do it this summer. They can wait next summer.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, that is a major story. Now, people have talked. Some people have talked to me and said, "Look, there may be a chance. It's probably going to be part of the budget bill, but there may be a chance that the feds may challenge it because it's a vice tax." And the vice tax is going to be, a state vice tax is going to be helping student athletes and not students. And maybe the feds, so we're not going to know for sure if this gets done, if it can happen. But if it does, it's going to change. It's got to change the thinking at North Carolina. I mean, and I think it makes everything easier for them. Whatever decision they make, it's going to make it easier for them to make the decision. It's going to give them more power to be able to negotiate with the Board of Governors, right? So more independence, more power, more money. Money overall. It's just a rule of thumb. Because I've heard some people out there say, well, I think North Carolina getting this extra money is actually going to stall things. Look, money greases the skids. SMU, for an example. SMU, when they said we're not taking any media money for the next 9 years, Stanford, California, we're willing to take less. All that extra money going to those other ACC schools greased the skids for conference expansion. I'll give you another example. I mean, there's a lot of examples out there. I'll give you another example. I believe you're talking about the look-in for 2028, Edward. Well,
yes,
the look-in on 2028 is we might change the playoff distribution model because of either a conference is punching above its weight, which the ACC and the Big 12 did not do the first year of the expanded playoffs. They might do it in the next year. Or there's a material change in realignment. So if the Clemson and Florida State do go to the SEC, that's a material change in realignment. And the SEC would get the benefit of a Clemson and Florida State, and all that extra money would go to the SEC. And if Florida State and Clemson need to say, look, you can grab a few extra $1 million from what we are giving you because we're joining your conference, you can spread that around. That greases the skids. More money, no matter how it's happening, more money greases the skids for movement. That's just a rule of thumb. Another rule in realignment. Go ahead, sir.
Which is why I think this is going to be sped up. Because, why would the SEC, with the 9 games, with the schedule agreement with the Big Ten, why would they do all this and not include those 4 teams in that negotiation process? I mean, they wouldn't make adjustments to the contract, then add the teams to make more adjustments. I think they're going to do all in one bang. That way, the money, they know the upfront money that's going to be dispersed to all the teams that they're going to be getting from all the adjustments they made for the 9th game, for for the Big Ten, partnership with them in terms of playing them every year. I mean, I think they're going to do this all at one time. And I believe all these pieces, especially since the new adjustment in the ACC monies have been done, I think all of this is happening right now behind the scenes. And they're going to do a full swoop. And I have to believe that those 4 teams are already going to be in the negotiation. I gotta believe too this, Greg. They're going to North Carolina, Virginia, and probably Florida State and Clemson, selling them on all these ideas of what's about to happen. And all the planes are in the air. Of course, they're waiting on a House settlement, but it doesn't mean the planes are not flying. It doesn't mean that the groundwork is not being laid. As the House is being settled, and I believe it's going to be, like you said, a boom, 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 boom situation. And I honestly believe that that the teams are going to come in when the new adjustment negotiations of the SEC happen. And I believe, like you said, there's going to be a reconfiguring in 2027 with 2028 with the college football playoffs. And I believe, if you look at the condition of the ACC, they may go from 2 teams to 1 team. Big 12 may go from 2 teams to 1 team. And you may have more teams coming to the Big Ten and SEC. I believe there's going to be more challenges, more demands of the Big Ten and SEC down the road. And I think we're going to be real close to that Power 2 breakaway.
All righty, sir. Edward the Auburn Tiger, I appreciate the call. I'm getting excited about watching Coleman and Singleton as your wideouts. I think Jackson Arnold is going to have some receivers he can actually throw to. I think it's going to be a very interesting year for Hugh Freeze. I think we're coming upon, is it year 3? I think this is the year that Auburn makes a little bit of a jump. What do you think, sir?
Well, Greg, let's just go out on a limb. Let's just call it Auburn and Minnesota in the championship.
There you go.
How about that?
There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh my God. Edward, you are a genius, my friend.
Yeah, you guys had a great year, Greg. I mean, Minnesota did a great job last year. They really did.
Yeah, and hopefully we can put in another good year. Although I said earlier in this live show, our redshirt freshman quarterback struggled a little bit yesterday, but nope, don't panic, Gophers. Do not panic out there. But I appreciate the call, my friend.
It's a great day, Greg. Thanks for
You got it. Edward was breaking up a little bit out there. Great call. Great call by Edward, the Auburn Tiger. The floor is yours. Anybody want to call in? Again, so far in the program, we talked about the breaking news on Nico going to UCLA. Mercury News, John Wilner, had a great title for his article that he just released. Basically, UCLA made sense for Nico because it had the least amount to lose. UCLA had the least amount to lose, and I think that's a great way of putting it. Again, though, they got that Aguilar quarterback from App State, and I wonder what he's going to do now. He was all set up to be their QB1. He was the guy who was QB1 going into the first week this year, and now what does he do? That is going to be very interesting to see what happens. You can give us a call, talk about anything about the portal that you want to talk about. Again, the West Virginia Mountaineers, they have lost a bunch of guys in the portal, and they knew that they were going to. They had to lose a lot of guys. He was good. He was good at Liberty. Big Gun Shop said he was homesick. This buffoon is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, this buffoon. I appreciate it. Greg, what if Notre Dame doesn't bite the bullet and move? Might Miami replace Clemson as a member of the UNC, UVA, Florida State quartet? Greg, what if Notre Dame doesn't bite the bullet and move? They might not bite the bullet and move. I see what you're saying. Is the SEC, could they go Miami, Florida State, Virginia, North Carolina? I do not think so. I don't think so. I don't think so, this buffoon, because I don't think, I think the Florida Gators would. I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be 3 schools out of Florida. I don't think that's going to happen. But the first part of your question, what if Notre Dame doesn't bite the bullet? I think they're going to. I think they're going to have to. Economic reasons above all else, because there's no way, nobody has come to me and even tried to figure out a way that Notre Dame fulfills its broadcasting obligations to NBC. But if they don't, then the Big Ten might not expand. I think they still will with the Miami +1. That's when you get into the scenario of Miami and a Georgia Tech, or a Miami and a Duke, or Stanford might get in the mix again, possibly. That's what happens if Notre Dame doesn't bite the bullet. But, man. I know it sounds crazy, and most people disagree with me. I'm talking 85% of people probably disagree with me, but that's okay. I think Notre Dame is going to have to bite the bullet. Bean, Greg, Joey Aguilar is a senior. Nico's a redshirt sophomore. They're not bringing Nico. UCLA is not bringing in Nico to be QB2. That ain't happening.
Call from
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, can you just hold on for 1 second, please?
Sure, Greg.
I do appreciate it. I just want to answer this. There's no way Nico's coming in. He's going to be QB1. He's going to play week 1. I don't know who UCLA plays week 1. They don't play my beloved Golden Gophers. We beat UCLA at UCLA last year in the Pasadena, California. We do not play Nico in UCLA this year, but no way is Nico coming in at $2 million and $1 million, whatever they're paying him, and he's not going to play. So Joey is not going to stay there. Joey Aguilar is going somewhere. And kind of like Gio Lopez, who looks like he's going to North Carolina. Joey was a very good quarterback last year. So he's going to be, I haven't seen a report that he's in the portal, but I can't imagine he's not going to the portal. I can't imagine that. Rock and Rant, thanks for calling, Mr. Hurricane. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so first, I think on the UCLA thing, I think you're 100%. The reports are correct. The Appalachian State quarterback, when he came in, the rumored number was $1.2 million. So,
how much?
I'm sure $1.2 million was the reported number
for
him back in January. Now, whether that was like the 1-year deal or some other structure, I don't know. I'm just telling you the number I remember seeing was 1.2, just in terms of the context of what Nico might be getting, even in a diminished value market for him. So I think he's probably going to boomerang, just like you say. Maybe have a destination before he's even in the portal officially, depending upon everything. Just like the Purdue quarterback who went to North Carolina is in the portal already, right? Days after the spring game, as soon as the South Alabama quarterback got announced, he's in the portal and he's boomeranging as well. So I think you're right on that.
Brown's his name. Yep.
So, I just wanted to call. I don't have a ton to say other than, it's complete and total portal chaos, as everyone expected to happen, as everybody tries to legally cheat before the settlement goes in.
Yeah.
All these altruistic universities talking about how they don't want cheating, all trying to figure out how to break the rules before the rules are established. But, listen, I just want to come in to defend you in general. the confirmation bias thing, I don't know why people get so worked up. I understand if you hear news that's good for your school, you're happy about it. If somebody tells you things that are not necessarily as positive, even if negative, you're not. This is all sports talk radio. It's all off season. People have different sources. Doesn't make you worse. Doesn't make Big Mountain West or Big Mountain bad. Doesn't mean that they're like lying to anybody. Situations change. Sources are different. People get different information. Everyone should just chill the hell out and enjoy having something to talk about in the off season. I get why people get worked up, but I think people get really worked up over nothing when half the people who are talking about a cult were convinced that some of the schools would have been in the Big Ten this past season, right? So everybody has their confirmation biases. You may be right in the end. If so, great for you. Not necessarily bad for them. They're telling you what they're being told, potentially from excellent sources who have been right 80% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not here to disparage them. I'm just here to say, you're just getting the confirmation bias bullets thrown at you, and you should absolutely capitalize and just make the merch and run with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the whole cult thing. I mean, I don't mind people calling me like an idiot and stupid, whatever, things like that. But a cult leader,
Playful.
Huh?
I think it's just playful, man. I think it's just people throwing stronger elbows. I think everyone should just chill out on that too.
Yeah,
don't get so triggered about it. It's funny to me.
Yeah,
you can go whichever way you want with it.
It's weird though.
You're the conspiracy. Well, you're a conspiracy guy, not necessarily, right? You have your UFO thing, so some would call that conspiracy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's adjacent to cult in some ways. Ultimately.
Okay.
This is all fun. It's sports, right?
I understand.
It's off season. It's better than everything. So no hate on anybody. I think everyone should just chill out and enjoy it. It's better than focusing on a lot of the other things that we could all be focusing on in the world that's also chaotic at the moment. So if it gives you a respite to argue over things for a couple of hours and take your mind off of other things, then it served its purpose. And if you turn out to be right, great. If they turn out to be right, great. I bet you wind up somewhere in the middle where you're both a little bit right and both a little bit wrong, because that would be the way the chalk usually breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's it. We'll see what happens in the portal chaos, man. I think Mario's Cristobal's one take is actually right, that the portal is everybody's in the portal, and the portal is always open regardless of whether you're officially in. I think we're seeing it happen right now.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. All right, man.
You good. Have a good rest of your show.
You too, rocking that. Beautiful. Beautiful call by Mr. Hurricane. The Observer. People call me an idiot savant. Emphasis on... I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. The Observer. I'm not going to say it. Okay. What do we got here? No cheese on meat cult. Okay. I'm open to that. I think. Greg, are you coming to Berkeley this fall? We might not have running backs, but we have a lovely campus. Gene, Calderon. First you lose Jaden Ott, and then you lose another running back today going into the portal. But you do have Devin Brown, and Devin Brown is going to be interesting. He's a tough kid. Devin Brown is a tough kid. He is a competitor. I really like Fernando Mendoza last year. He was great. But you lost him. But Devin Brown is a competitor. I mean, he's going to battle. He's going to absolutely battle. The little that we have seen at Ohio State, Devin Brown is going to battle. No, I will not be able. That is September 13th, I believe, and I think most likely I will be probably doing a watch party in the studio. So if you're at the game, Gene Calderon, make sure you turn on PATC. I'll probably be doing a watch party. California and Minnesota. Yeah, Preston from Greensboro. The Purdue transfer to UNC just at the portal again. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to Max Johnson, Preston. I mean, he's trying to recover from that injury. He's throwing the ball around. Does Max Johnson stay, or I suppose he could battle Lopez, but I don't know. That Lopez, man, he is a different quarterback than Max Johnson. That's another thing. You got two quarterbacks that are on the extreme. So does Bill Belichick have two quarterbacks, QB1 and QB2, on the extremes and how they play football? With this, woo. All righty, we're going to be shutting it down. We've been on the air for an hour and 55 minutes. If you just came, please go back to the start of our show. We did the Nico breaking news. Nico Iamaleava on a jet plane, goes to UCLA, going back home to Cali. And then we talked about the Big Ten targets. We made it clear here at Peek Around the Corner. We did a show on April 8th, but I understand we really concentrated on the SEC portion of that. Today we focused on the Big Ten targets. What we believe. It's okay that you got an opinion. It's okay if you disagree with us. I'm just telling you, the Big Ten is still the Big Ten. The Big Ten is still the Big Ten. And it's kind of a hard thing for a lot of people to grasp, but it's true. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank Mick Stevens, Helmer Hennison, Expedition Greg, Ryan Willie for your generosity. I appreciate the donation. Help us keep the lights on, the great phone calls. And again, before you leave, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Buckle up. Brace for impact. It's been a crazy April. It's going to be crazy. I don't think there's any way that we get through tomorrow on Thursday, April 17th, without some major name entering the portal. And we're going to be here to cover it all in college football. So, again, keep your head on a swivel. Make sure when you subscribe that you're having notifications turned on, because we can come on live at any time. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.